The auger extrusion presses that will be presented on this film are clay-working extruders, generally called pugmill extruders. In view is an extruder made by Beno of Kent, Ohio. This is a pacemaker, which is the model number, with a 10-inch diameter auger, 30 horsepower drive, and 30 horsepower shaft motors. It's a belt-driven auger extruder, and this particular one we will call Beno number 1. We're showing you replacement parts that are available that may be sold separately from the extrusion press, but are at the present time available to be purchased with the extruder. We're looking at the front of the extruder. You'll notice that on the top there is a feeder, which is an auger type feeder, which is not included. We're only talking about the bottom section or the pugmill extruder. We're looking directly into the die end. The rollers were used there in the previous application for handling the clay extrusions. This is a de-airing type of extruder. That's the exit end of the auger assembly, the de-airing chamber. And then we'll have the mixing and feed chamber, which is now in view. And we're going to look inside, and you'll see the excellent mechanical condition of the auger knives. This machine is in fine shape. As you're seeing them, the motors are now attached and in place. This is one of the motors, the belt drive. Now recognize that these extruders will soon be removed from their present in-plant location and moved into storage. So this is your opportunity to see the extruders intact in their general arrangement. This will be Beno extruder number 1. This is Beno pacemaker extruder. We'll call it number 2. It is installed just like the one previously. It also is a de-airing type with 10-inch diameter augers, 30 horsepower drive, and shaft drive motors. It also has a belt drive, visible in the pictures. Here again, this extrusion press will be removed by the time you inspect this extruder and make its purchase. The de-airing chamber, the auger drive, it's all very similar to the one that you just saw previously, except this one does include, or at least can include, the feeder at the top, which we'll look at in just a moment. We're looking into the exit end of the extrusion press. Note the quick change die retaining mechanisms on all of these extruders. We're looking into the mixing chamber just before the de-airing chamber. Very good mechanical condition. This is the feeder, which is located above the auger extruder. And here again, we're looking into the inside, and there's still a considerable amount of residual clay around the augers and in the tub at this time. The vacuum pump is included on this machine. There it was in view. You should check and make sure whether the machine does or does not have a vacuum pump at the present time. So this is Beno number 2 pacemaker. There are some additional replacement parts that are illustrated. Again, these parts may be sold separately or could be included with the machine, depending upon when you make your purchase. We're looking at a Chambers Model 7C, C as in Charlie, extrusion press. This is one of 2, but we'll call this the first Chambers. It has a 75 horsepower Pug shaft drive, 8-inch diameter augers. It is de-airing, and it is capable of being provided complete with the powder feed hopper currently located over the extruder, but we are going to separate it so the hoppers may be sold separately. All of these extruders were in a complete clay extrusion system and were operable right up until the day the plant was closed, which was in recent months. Now you see scaffolding to the right of this Chambers that will be scrapped. We will not be keeping that type of equipment because you'll make scaffolding to adjust to the elevation in the new installation in your plant for these extruders. Here we're looking up towards the powder hopper. In this case, this hopper was fed either by mechanical or by pneumatic conveying methods. It has a dust collector, as I recall. Here we're looking at the 8-inch diameter auger. Quick change die retention system, vacuum chamber. The conveyor that you just saw alongside of the extrusion press is not going to be in storage with this extruder, but the rest of it will be, including the belts and belt drives at the rear, motor, pulleys. We're offering the extrusion presses as complete extruders. Again, replacement parts that may or may not be with a specific extrusion press, because they are interchangeable from one of the same model to another. Your earliest purchase will give you the opportunity to be the buyer of the spare parts. This is a rear view of the powder holding hopper. The electrical disconnects are not a part of the machine. They are for other equipment. Chambers number 2. Let me correct that, it's chambers number 1, and we're looking inside of the auger area. We're still on the first chambers machine. We're now looking at the chambers number 2, the second of the chambers, Model 7C extruders. Again, with 75 horsepower pug shaft drives and 8-inch diameter augers, which are now in view. There is a quick change die retaining system, as is the case on all of these extruders, as mentioned previously. Here again, it's a de-airing extruder, that being the de-airing chamber. This particular extruder does not have the vacuum pump at the present time, but it can be provided. We're looking into the de-airing chamber, where you saw the choppers. Now we're looking into the feed tub, the augers. Again, the mechanical condition is way above average for this type of equipment. It's very difficult to find extruders with this type of quality. And the features on this equipment set it apart from any other machinery because it's, as it came out of service, is very late model equipment, was used until the last days of its recent production due to a plant closing. Replacement parts are available for all of these extruders. The replacement parts you see may or may not be with a specific machine. Belt drives, like the other one. These are outstanding extrusion presses. This is a powder holding hopper, which is similar in arrangement to the second Beno, or Beno number 2, that we showed you earlier. In this case, however, it has a belt feeder under the bottom. You can see the back of the belt in just a moment. There it is. And that takes material underneath the holding hopper to the top of the extruder, where it's discharged to go through the extrusion process. This is Beno Chambers equipment of the finest available for the clayworking industry, with applications for extruding coal and many other materials, although ideally clayworking would be the next application. Only from MOHR Corporation can you obtain this fine equipment. The next extruder is an FRH, or Fate International. This Fate International Model PCW16 has augers which taper down to 12 inches. It's located at MOHR Corporation's Detroit, Michigan facility, where it can be inspected under power You can see that it has rollers underneath the machine, and at the present time does have a die of sorts on the end of the extrusion barrel. The auger is driven by a 50 horsepower motor with a Reeves variable speed drive, driving augers which are in excellent condition. This inside view clearly shows that the augers and other component parts of the extrusion chamber are in above average or excellent condition. This view at the rear shows the gearbox and the rear portion of the drive with the belt guards. Quick changing of the die is accomplished with a hinged die retainer. This is the opposite side where you can see the nut that has to be removed in order for the door to be swung open. This model PCW16 extruder is a very rare find, one that's ideal for extruding many types of clays or refractory mixes, coal, and there are many other applications. This is a very late model machine manufactured by Plymouth Supply, who is the manufacturer of the Fate International, formerly known as the FRH, or the Fate Root Heath extruders. These are fine machines used all over the world. This is going to conclude this presentation of auger or screw type extrusion presses available through MOHR Corporation, who, based in Detroit, Michigan, are international sellers of second-hand ceramic and ceramic-like processing machinery. Our address, fax, and telephone number are shown at the end of this videotape, and we welcome your further inquiries. That concludes this presentation. Thank you for listening.